Enghi airdropped delete this to my phone from her bed. On Tuesday at 9:41 p.m., my phone blinked an airdrop request while I was rinsing wine glasses we hadn't used. The sender showed up as guest iPhone, the file named delete this. I almost hit decline. Strangers with guilty thumbs are not my hobby until I saw the thumbnail. It was the corner of a duvet I recognized in the same bone-deep way you recognize your own writing when you're half asleep. The walnut headboard we chose together, the nightstand with the ring-shaped watermark we never sanded out, the pillowcase Lena says is movie white. My bed. I accepted. The clip was 26 seconds, filmed vertically like a sin. It started with a ceiling fan and the sound of a woman laughing the way people laugh when they're both embarrassed and convinced they deserve it. Then the camera tipped. There was a chest, a shoulder, the glazed lamp, a stretch of thigh, a hand that I knew like a password. Lena, my wife. Not naked, not pornographic, YouTube wouldn't blush, but intimate enough to make my ribs feel like a borrowed suit. The man didn't speak. He just set the phone down so it caught them at the edge of the frame, like a documentarian who believes the story deserves a formal witness. At the end, a hand reached toward the phone and the shot went gray. Then the airdrop banner flashed again. Delete this. I didn't. I walked into the bedroom and looked at the bed like it could confess. The sheets were made. Lena is a parishioner of neatness. But the top layer gave itself away in small ways, the way a polite person reveals a secret by being too careful. The duvet had a single ripple like a held breath. The lamp's chain was bent toward the left, and the faintest trace of a cologne we do not buy sat under the rosemary and linen of our usual life. My job is logistics. People call it moving things. I call it teaching objects and information to tell the truth on schedule. The company trusts me because I do not flinch when a timeline lies. I did not flinch now. I opened the Photos app, located the airdropped file, and checked the metadata. The clip had no location tag. Whoever produced it knew how to strip that. But the creation time was 9:34 p.m., 7 minutes earlier, which meant whoever sent it was still nearby. Airdrop is line of sight plus luck. The sender had been within 30 feet, in my apartment in the hall on our floor. Lena was at a launch, an art gallery way to say there would be free wine and everyone's voice would pitch up when they said texture. She had left with a dress in a garment bag and a note that said, "Don't wait up, brave man." It was a joke she made when she wanted me not to ask questions. Call me a coward, I asked none. I texted, "Everything okay?" No reply. The second airdrop came at 9:44, a still photo of my office chair. Not our dining chair that looks like a mid-century apology. My office chair, the one I bought after a scoliosis panic. Draped over it was a tie I did not own, navy with a filigree of tiny bronze squares. The caption under the photo, because sending a stranger a caption is a genre now, read, "Thanks for the lesson." My lungs found the rhythm of a man about to do something stupid. I grabbed my jacket, then paused. Eva, our neighbor's cat, howled in the corridor sometimes like gossip. The hall was quiet. I opened the door anyway and stepped into the shared air, a stranger in his own life trying not to fog the lenses. At the far end, the elevator dinged and opened on an empty cab that smelled like expensive laundry. I could have stormed the stairwell, but rage is a bad detective. I went back inside, set my phone on the kitchen counter, and turned on the baby monitor we keep for guests, which is to say for hypothetical future versions of ourselves. The monitor uses Wi-Fi. The companion app logs MAC addresses in a list of devices that have visited. I refreshed the list. One new device had joined 15 minutes earlier, unnamed, with a manufacturer label I recognized from too many spec sheets. Foxglove Optics. Boutique. Niche. Men who buy ties with bronze squares buy phones from companies that make them feel like they're a species. I copied the Mac. I walked to the front door again, opened it, and waited until my building's network coughed up a nearby access list. The foxglove device pinged in the stairwell, then blinked out. Whoever he was, he'd stepped out of our Wi-Fi like a ghost who knows not to set off motion lights. Lena came home at 10:22 with hair that had been rained on and lips that looked like she'd decided to be good at surviving. She dropped her keys in the bowl and froze when she saw me in the kitchen, both hands around a glass like it was permission. "You're up," she said, and my name in her mouth felt like a word a person is trying on to see if it fits. "I got a strange airdrop," I said, and watched her face decide between the truth and its friend. She chose the careful version of honest. "Dasha and I were at Kavka," she said. "Max showed up." I'd never heard of a Max in our circle, which meant I'd heard of all of them. "He sent me something," I said, tapping the phone. I didn't slide it over. I didn't force her to see herself in the way this new person wanted her to be seen. I watched the air between us thicken until speaking was an act of demolition. She took off her coat and hung it the way you hang a life you can still fix. "I didn't plan it," she said. "Then I did." If there's a kind of bravery more exhausting than telling the truth when you're wrong, I haven't met it. I nodded once, the nod project managers give when a crane operator tells them the chain is louder than usual. "Who is he?" I asked. "His last name is Kirilenko," she said. "He consults on concepts. He buys rooms and calls it art. He makes women feel like they are about to be understood." "And you," I asked, "do you feel understood?" "I feel seen," she said, and the sentence hurt because it was true in that terrible, simple way truth often is. It doesn't need your permission to exist. We did not sleep. We negotiated a ceasefire until morning, which is not romance, but sometimes it is love. When the sun climbed the blinds, I wrote the 2 emails a man writes when he wants to keep his work and his life from spilling into each other. One to my boss explaining that a logistics emergency needed me at the warehouse, not wrong, and one to myself with the subject line, "Rules or Nothing." Then I went to track a ghost named Max. Access logs are polite if you know how to ask. Our building's management company uses a system called ArgentKey. The fob readers store anonymized hashes, but the elevator panels don't. People love a loophole almost as much as they love pretending it's accidental. I brought coffee to Yura, the security guard with a crossword addiction, and asked him if he could check for a friend, whether any guest passes had been issued on our floor after 8 p.m. the night before. He said none. I asked about unauthorized elevator rides, a glitch, a ping with no associated fob. He sighed the sigh of a man who thinks he's being helpful by staying unhelpful. "Power cycled at 9:36, he said. "That can hide a lot of unhelpful truth." "Logs survive," I said, because I'm the kind of man who says things like that to other men like they are compliments. He printed a strip for me that showed times, not names. The elevator went from 3 to 7 at 9:29, then to 9, then to 3 again at 9:41. My apartment is on 9. Max had used the stairs to come up and the elevator to leave when his courage decided it had done enough cardio. At lunch, I went to Kavka, the gallery with a bar attached like a IV bag. Dasha was there, in a sweater that had never touched a washing machine. She is Lena's friend and the patron saint of all pop-ups, which is to say she is good at creating one-hour rooms where people misbehave tastefully. "Is this where I apologize for inviting Max into our orbit?" she asked before I sat. "It's where you tell me why he wanted me to see him," I said, pulling my phone from my pocket and sliding it face down. Because he wants witnesses, she said. Because he thinks the valuable part of desire is the documentation. Because he's tired of his own reflection. Was it always him and Lena, I asked, or just sometimes? She did that very European shrug people do when exactly would be unkind. He collects firsts, she said. He only values a woman until he becomes routine. I let the picture develop. My wife, hungry and bright, standing in a good dress and being offered a mirror by a man who liked to be the mirror more than he liked what he saw. Where is he now? I asked. Hotel Mir, she said. He always sleeps there after he does something he wants to call art. I went to Hotel Mir because the anger that had been polite all morning decided to go outside. The lobby was the kind of beige you choose when you're afraid of lawsuits. The clerk looked at me like she could decide whether I mattered with her eyelashes. I asked for Mr. Kirilenko. No guest by that name, she said, which is what you say when your guest registers under pseudonyms that make him feel like a spy. I texted a colleague, the kind who likes to feel useful, and asked for a favor. 5 minutes later, I had an image of a booking. M. Kurt, paid with a card belonging to a shell company that exists to park cash and shame. Room 512. I went up. He opened the door wearing a t-shirt that tried to be humble and failed. He smiled like he'd rehearsed every version of this encounter. You must be him, he said. He stepped aside. I entered a room that smelled like cologne and contrition. I am him, I said. I set my phone on the desk and played the clip to the moment before hands reached into the frame. I watched him as it played. He didn't look at the screen. He watched my face, and I realized that's his medium. Why airdrop me? I asked. Why not just keep your trophies like everyone else does in the quiet? Because I wanted to give you a choice, he said. Burn the bridge or watch me walk across it. Either way, the light is good. I don't want to be your audience, I said. He spread his hands. Then don't be the director. Tell me how this ends. You resign, I said. He laughed, a sound like striking a match in someone else's bedroom. From what? From being interesting. From being in my house, I said. He thought about that with honest curiosity. I can do that, he said. I can leave your geography alone, but you can't resign from the weather. I stepped close enough that he could smell my restrained rage. This is not weather, I said. This is a leak. I tapped the desk. Here are the rules. You don't contact her. You don't contact me. You don't perform us for anyone. If you do, I will send your clip to the board of the foundation that funds your concepts and to the curator who thinks your darkness is a brand. I will name the tie you left on my chair and the foxglove serial your phone broadcasts to every router that knows how to listen. You think you want witnesses? Try a room where everyone is bored and hungry for a new villain. He went still then, as if someone had finally spoken a language he respected. You're good, he said softly, which is not the same as right. Right is what I build at home, I said and left. At home, Lena stood at the sink washing the wine glasses we hadn't used, which is a domestic metaphor I did not miss. She looked at me with a face that had chosen to be brave. I'm not asking for forgiveness, she said. I'm asking for the chance to decide what I want with all the lights on. 30 days, I said. Us. No spectators, no Tuesdays with men who treat desire like a grant application. 30 days where we behave like people who can be messy in the same room. After that, we decide. What do you put on the table? She asked. I stop bringing only solutions, I said. I bring appetite. I tell you when I want you while it's still true. I fail visibly so you don't have to audition for disasters to feel alive. Her breath left in a rush. She took my wrist and put my hand under the running water, and we stood there like idiots, water cold, the moment complicated and holy. "Do you want me now?" she asked, not coy, not bargaining. "Yes," I said, and she kissed me, and it was not cinematic, it was specific. The taste of mint and rain, the damp strap of her dress under my palm, the quiet where we tried too hard not to wake whatever fragile thing had settled between us. Nothing you couldn't upload, everything you can't fake. For a month, we were indecently deliberate. We reclaimed the rooms we'd abandoned. We argued without presentations. Twice we ended up on the kitchen floor laughing like the air was thicker than it is, and we didn't mind drowning. We made a rule that every Thursday at 11, we'd text each other one non-negotiable desire that had nothing to do with sex and one that did. Turns out desire is a muscle. It atrophies politely until you remember it can lift you. Max did not reappear. Dasha sent a single message the second week. "Stop letting men turn you into content." Lena Hart reacted and then put her phone face down and told me she wanted a bath with me sitting on the closed toilet reading from a book we both hate. We did that. We felt ridiculous and alive. Sometimes at night, when the apartment is quiet, my phone still looks like it's waiting to be used against me. I turn AirDrop off. I put the phone in the drawer with the velvet pouch that holds my cufflinks and the tie clip I wear to funerals. I choose the only witness I can live with, the woman I promise to be visible to even when it's unflattering. Yesterday, I found the navy tie with bronze squares folded into the back of my office chair, as if an artifact had waited for its own museum. I took it to the balcony and held it up like a trophy someone else had tried to win with my life. Then I did the most boring thing I could think of. I cut it into strips and used the longest one to tie up a plant that had been listing toward the window for weeks. Lena came out and stared at the improvised stake and started laughing, honest, ugly, wonderful, and kissed me hard in the doorway. The plant stood a little straighter. So did I. If you need a clickbait ending, you could say this: I kept the video. Not because I want to watch it, but because I want to remember what we chose not to be. It lives in a hidden album under a name I cannot forget, Weatherproof. I hope I never open it. I hope I never have to. I hope the only thing I airdrop to our future is this: a map of a house with lights on, 2 people inside, and every door closed because they decided the view was better from the bed they already made and are finally ready to mess up together.